Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
So good. It's a beautiful day.
It's a little warm in here already.
It's a little warm, but it's not what it could be.
No,
like
or what it will be by the end of the episode.
Yeah, exactly. As the sun slowly moves over the table and roasts us.
Right. I will once again remind our listeners that I have baby seagulls, and so it might be a little more seagull action this week.
Have you started feeding them peanuts?
No. Why are you looking?
There's 2 bags of peanuts by your window.
I don't know what.
You just are really into roasted peanuts suddenly with shells.
I like peanuts.
Like them warmed up in the sun.
Like
No,
letting them
the
sit there.
peanuts are for the crows, if you must know.
Oh,
The
wait.
seagulls don't care for the
I
peanuts.
thought you didn't like the crows.
Oh, I love crows.
Mm-hmm.
The crows and the seagulls don't like each other.
Oh, I see.
And the crows can be really
I thought you were just
aggressive.
team seagull.
No, the crows are really aggressive towards the babies, and I don't like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but I still feed everybody. All are welcome.
There you
All
go.
are welcome.
We got to get you like a fish or a dog or something.
I was talking to my, I do have fish also. I was talking to my brother, and he's set up in Bellingham. He's set up just hummingbird feeders all over his place
really?
now. You know, because everybody's stuck at home.
Yeah.
We are all coming up with new hobbies. And he was like, I feel like an old man, tending to my birds. And I'm like, I got you beat, man.
My brother also has a hummingbird sanctuary in his house, but to the point where the hummingbirds all gather there and fight each other.
Yeah, they're territorial.
Hummingbirds are,
oh my God.
yeah, super aggressive.
They're crazy. I mean, I haven't encountered them actually hurting people, but like they'll like stab each other with their little beaky beaks. It's crazy.
They're, I think I heard that they are like within 2 hours of dying at any given moment. So it's a real aggressive hunt for food, and they're super territorial if another bird, another hummingbird comes in and tries to get their food, because it's literally a matter of life and death.
Whoa.
Because they burn so many calories.
Right.
And, I could see that.
Wow.
Okay.
Makes me feel
stuff.
lazy.
Welcome to Birds Today.
That's right.
Let's talk about what birds have you been encountering?
You guys, I have been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think you watch this, Vanessa.
I don't.
Eric, I know you
I've
do.
watched-
It's a big commitment.
I've got half of the last episode yet to watch, but
Okay.
I'm almost caught up.
Yeah, it's been a pretty decent season. There was a couple episodes ago where I thought, boy, the acting in this is shit for some reason, this episode. But then the last episode, I was kind of marveling at the amazing camera angles and shit like that.
Marveling?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. But
Thank you. I'll see myself out.
Get out, never darken my door again. But I thought, there's some really amazing camera work going on in the last episode. And I was I wonder who's controlling this on this particular episode. What show off is this? So I've just been really enjoying it. I'm very sad to know that I want this to be a 40 episode season, because I think this is the last episode coming up.
Yeah, I believe so. That weird thing they do. The next episode is the last episode before the final episode. I was like, what? What?
Oh my
How many
God.
episodes are left?
It's like baseball. Only 160 more games to go.
You better buckle up, folks, because it's getting hot in here. And you guys have seen the like weird digital baseball people. They put a digital crowd in.
Oh, in the crowds, yes.
Yeah.
Man,
I
that's
did see that
wild.
somebody had popped in the Weekend at Bernie's guy as one of the people.
Oh, it is so
He's got the
good.
sunglasses on and the blanket. It's like somebody's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, we got the notification from the Mariners. You can buy a cardboard cutout
Of yourself.
of yourself or whatever, apparently, and they'll put that in a seat in the stands.
That's
like,
beautiful.
yeah, kind of, thanks, but I think we're good.
I don't
That's
like
nice.
baseball on a normal period of time, let alone.
I feel like with all the money you spent that you're... Oh, wait. So ticket refunds this year then? Or...
The only game we had tickets to is opening night. 'Cause
Okay.
we always go to, I think we've been 20 some odd years in a row now of opening night.
Wow.
They gave you that back.
It's in credit.
Oh.
Well, it seems to me then they could make up those standees of you and Dina and put those in themselves,
There you go.
not charge you for that.
Especially for opening night. Come on. Did that happen already?
Oh, no. Yeah. What would have been their opening night was, I think they're 2 or 3 weeks into the truncated season.
I am enjoying sports, like TV sports of they don't know what to do and then occasionally throw in esports. Like at first I thought they were only going to do esports.
Sure.
And then I think somehow the generation gap just meant nobody was watching. So they went back to empty field sports.
Right.
Well, I'm not particularly an NBA fan because, I'm Seattle and I hold a grudge.
Yeah.
But what
Word.
the NBA doing is really interesting. They've
What are they doing?
set up kind of a biodome situation where all the teams went down to this hotel and gym grouping. I haven't actually seen what it is. And they live there. And they go in there and they stay. And they're playing all their seasons in this ostensibly a biodome.
Whoa.
With the food being processed there, everything is being done there. They blacken. It looks like they're playing in a dark arena. It
Wow.
actually looks really cool.
Oh, so you can't see the
Wow.
empty seats.
Yeah.
It's all in
That's
shadow.
smart.
Well, this can only fall apart like every zombie movie where they try to do
Yes.
something like this. One guy is going to be like, I need my strippers and I don't care. And then the next thing you know, everybody's going to be sick.
I mean, it almost sounds like a punishment though. If you're the whole season, you don't get to see your family and you're just
The cashing the 6-figure checks a game does help
Right.
that a little
Right.
bit.
Sure. Okay. Never mind. I take it back. I forgot about the money.
Yeah, they get paid really well. The Marlins had 13 team members get COVID, I believe.
That's right.
So, yeah, anyways.
Sports.
Sports.
Well, speaking
Sorry
of
about-
sports, something we haven't brought up yet is Seattle has a new hockey team.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at the amount of people who I had no idea cared one whit about hockey, like myself, who are suddenly rabid about the Kraken. And the people that I did know who love hockey who have come out and bitched about the Kraken.
It's fast. The only thing I cared about was I was really upset at the idea of calling the team the Seattle Freeze because I thought it was really ill-spirited.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, that's the worst part about us. Thanks. Let's just advertise it to everybody. Yes, come to our city. We're dicks. So I wasn't a fan, and I always liked the Kraken. And I think that there's still a subset of sports fans that aren't quite being met, even with like the soccer and stuff popping up. I think that hockey is something that we've been lacking, and being so close to Canada, there are a lot. Like myself, I would definitely go to a hockey game.
I'm looking for it. I'm a mid-level hockey fan at best.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in this, partially, because it's fun because Dina's family is down in California, are huge Sharks fans. So that's always fun. And then we've got Vancouver up top. The two dumbest arguments that I've heard against the Kraken, and I've heard a lot of people mention this. One, it's not a real creature. I'm like, neither is the fucking
What?
Seahawk. The Seahawk is not a real bird.
Oh my
Also,
God.
that's
The Supersonics. We don't. Oh my God.
That's also to our benefit. You don't get the red skin problem 30 years down the road. then.
True.
So,
Yeah. And then the other one was it's a Norwegian thing.
But
Like,
our city is like got a
it's the
Swedish.
second largest, like 400,000, second largest Norwegian contingency
Yeah, that's
in
our
the
entire
US.
Ballard
They all live
is
in
just
Ballard.
Scandinavian. That is the stupidest crap I've ever
Okay,
heard.
you don't know what you're talking about because you don't think it's fake, and the Seahawks are fake. So
It sounds like people who did not grow up here.
maybe we are
honestly.
appropriating Norwegian culture by using the Kraken. Have you ever thought of that?
or the idea, well, everybody's just going to call us the crackheads. I'm like, okay, I think that's kind of
That's hilarious.
I didn't
Do
think of that
it.
at
Go
all,
for
and
it.
that's brilliant.
Like our home ice will be the crack house.
Oh, nice.
I'm okay with this.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because nobody ever makes up insulting names about their opponents' sports teams.
I did
Exactly.
see one person complaining, and it took me a minute to figure this out. And they're like, "Well, this is I'm a Red Wings fan,
Okay.
and I don't like it because that's our mascot." And I was like, What are you talking about? And then I realized, don't they throw an octopus out on the ice every single opening game? I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's not a Kraken, so you're good there.
What is the so is their mascot?
Well, their mascot isn't, but their unofficial mascot is this octopus that
they
started in
out?
1961 or
Yeah, a long
something,
time.
tossed out.
Well, they should have gotten
dead
on it, you know.
octopus.
Yeah, when I hear Red Wings, though, I kind of think of something else. But hey, that's just me, I guess.
They can keep doing it. I don't know. We can put our own octopus on the ice and they can fight.
Oh boy.
Put little skates on them and they can skate around. They can skate together.
I'm going to blow your mind here, Vanessa. The octopus is dead.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that.
Well,
The octopus is alive and he's skating and he's having
on the ice.
No, he's having a beautiful time and he's happy to be there and everyone is cheering because they love octopi. They're brilliant, beautiful creatures.
Octopuses.
That
but
Earth
whatever.
is just
Octopodes.
octopods. What's a grouping of octopuses?
So, anybody seen a movie?
called?
I talked about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. next.
Actually, I don't think I've talked with you guys about this. There was a movie that I was really excited about, and then everybody said it was the worst film ever, and so I didn't see it. And then COVID happened, and it wound up on my Netflix DVD queue because I was like, well, might as well.
Sure.
Midway. I saw Midway, Roland Emmerich.
World War II film?
Mm-hmm, Roland Emmerich, World War II, kind of Battle of Midway kind of set up. It was super fun.
Yeah?
It was unbelievably fun. It's not a good movie.
What a strange term to use for a World War II film. But all right.
No, but like the characters are like super plucky and they each have their thing and like of course every action scene is insane and it's easy to follow the characters throughout, like things exploding. It's very opposite of
Transformers is always my go-to.
Yeah, I was trying to remember his name, the director of
Michael Bay.
Yeah, Mr. Bay. It's super crazy visuals that just like stop your heart and you're like, how did anyone survive this? Like at all. This is crazy. Like, and when those people who are pilots who, somehow got through it or did something heroic and it ended up on those little baseball cards, suddenly it makes sense. And you're like, oh, like you're amazing. Like, you're a and actually a lot of the people in which they have characters of are based on real people. So it was a fantastical, over the top, huge production, and it definitely was not the best, but it was like White House down level. It was just fun,
I will absolutely watch this. I don't have the hate for Roland that a lot of people do, and I like World War II movies.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he hasn't done all great films, but he's definitely a lot more entertaining than a lot of people give him credit for.
Yeah, he's done enough good ones that even though some bad ones come through, it's pretty tolerable. He bounces back a lot of the time. So, his passion projects are almost out of the way. He got Anon done. What else does he need to do? Weird Shakespeare movies. All right. And cool.
Did you tell me you watched that and it was stupid?
I remember watching it. I cannot tell you what it was. I remember it being very boring.
Yeah.
It's probably not a good sign.
Yeah.
I've heard the theory that Shakespeare didn't write his own plays, and it seems ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
and the movie looked
silly.
ridiculous.
I mean, I think academics are bored and don't know what else to talk about because they've covered everything. Mm-hmm. So that's when you get people who are like, well, in Hitchcock films, all of the lighters actually mean something and it's been consistent all the way through from the first thing he's done. Like, it's stupid. They just need something to think about.
The little bit I've read about, or the lots I've read about Hitchcock, I could see him doing something like that and having no meaning behind it whatsoever. Just, I'm gonna fuck with people.
Yeah, he was more meticulous than pretty much any other director out there, and he was a bad example to use. But like, I don't know. I've heard this argument from a lot of people.
I mean, there's the evaluation, like especially Shakespeare. I think Shakespeare in Love probably gets kind of close. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do I get butts in seats? What can I write that'll get people to come and see my plays?
Yep.
That's largely where a lot of that creativity kind of stuff
Yeah,
ends.
he was an entertainer, you know? Like, I think people forget that. It wasn't like hoity-toity at the time.
No.
Like, people, you know, spent
the
a quarter.
opposite.
Yeah, like you could stand in the mud and like throw crap at people.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was a good night out.
I saw one of the total other spectrum as far as filmmakers and the money they had to spend. Blood and Flesh, the real life and ghastly death of Al Adamson.
I'm not familiar at all.
Yeah, I don't know
The
anything
film
about
was
this.
directed by David Gregory, who did Lost Soul,
Oh,
about Richard Stanley and Dr. Moreau. And he's also one of the founders, or maybe the founder, of Severin Films.
oh,
So he did a 2-year quest or more to get this movie made and interviewed everybody you could possibly imagine. Al Adamson is a low-budget Roger Corman type, sort of, who had Dracula Meets Frankenstein, I believe, is one of his, or Versus Frankenstein, and Satan's Sadists was one of his bigger ones.
okay.
So he made the Severin Films put out this box set of his that I went back and forth going, I don't know why I really want this because I know jack shit about this guy. It's with the documentary, a 30 film box set.
Whoa.
All but like 3 or 4 of the films that Al Adamson directed is in this thing. And it's kind of trashy stuff, not so good, but a surprisingly competent filmmaker at the same time for a guy who probably always worked $50,000 or less as far as the budget goes.
Wow.
So he's always got the same people, and he was brutally murdered sometime in the late 70s, I believe, and it was very horror show-esque, and it's like, and the documentary is amazing. It is. I think you can rent that or watch that on any number of streaming sites, I believe, have it, and it's well worth checking out.
This came in your box set?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, but then the box set, you get all the extras and all that cool shit. But I'm enjoying the hell out of this box, though. I started watching his first film was a Western he made in like 1961, I think. And then he's done horror films, and he did this weird, not so good James Bond style film. And it was mixed with, it didn't do well at all as the James Bond. So they said, hey, let's redo this. So they went back and they inserted this weird biker gang footage.
Oh, no.
So you've got this scene with biker
What?
gangs who are supposed to be, it loosely ties in with, because they're Nazis and the guy who the Bond guy's going after is a Nazi. So they sort of tie it together like that, but the scenes have nothing to do with each other.
Mm.
And he worked with the same people all the time, like John Carradine is in like half his films. He worked with DPs that went on to win Oscars. And it shows. Some of the films are actually surprisingly well shot for a $30,000 or $40,000 movie. It's interesting. I'm enjoying learning something about a filmmaker that I knew nothing about.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. What's the title of that again?
The Blood and Flesh, the Real, REEL,
Yeah.
Life and Ghastly Death of Al Adamson.
Does it go into the murder?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It starts with the hook thing, sort of like, well, here's what's going, and then he must have interviewed, seemed like 30 or 40 people, I mean, down to a neighbor who was involved in cracking the case open, who had nothing to do with films at all. It's like, man, you worked hard to find all these people.
Wow.
But so yeah, definitely worth well, you've seen Lost Souls.
Yeah.
The guy makes good stuff. And I went to look up what he's directed. He's got like 200 directing credits because I think he does a huge chunk of the Severin extras.
Okay.
So his stuff is all over Severin.
He's like
DVDs.
a made a career out of BTS movies, extras.
So it's pretty good.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Well, have you guys watched Palm Springs?
No, but I keep
Yeah.
hearing about it. Oh, you did watch
I
it?
did see it,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I checked that out.
I like the Groundhog's Day concept.
Mhm.
So even if I thought I didn't think it lived up to the hype it's getting, but
Oh,
I thought
Right.
it was good.
There were so many people who were hyping it, and I was just, I don't generally like comedy films very much, and I don't like Groundhog Day scenarios unless it's Tom Cruise getting murdered over and over again. Then it's fine.
I thought, didn't you like that Happy Birthday to Me or Happy
Oh,
Death
actually,
Day
you
or
know
whatever?
what? Yeah, I did like that a lot. If you do it right, I'll dig it. If you do it wrong, I want to like pull
It's a
out my own
mess.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
Which is probably true across the spectrum. But there were like people on Facebook were like, I just watched it back to back 20 times. It was so good. I was like, I guess I'll check this thing out. It seems cute. Watch the trailer. I was like, it looks more like a romantic comedy than just a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
And I definitely enjoyed it. It was super fun. I thought there was a lot of really neat little things in it, but I have zero reason to watch it again. So
Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah, I won't watch. It was good.
Yeah.
Kind of like the host. It's like, okay, yeah, this is all right. Why is everybody talking like this is the
I think people are just so desperate for stuff. They're like, no one has launched a major series this week. What are we gonna do?
It's Adam Sandberg, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I gotta admit, I have a soft spot for his movies for some reason, like Hot Rod and Pop Star. I think
have not seen either of those movies, but I have seen a lot of his SNL, BTS Island, Lonely Island stuff.
Right.
Which is not BTS, but like the music videos, they're so good. And have you ever seen the TV show he's on?
He does it.
Oh my gosh.
I know that. Other than SNL, I've seen that.
It's like a police procedural comedy.
Brooklyn 99.
Yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That is really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I lasted about a season on that, but I imagine if it kept going, everybody just got better and
I got
better.
a few seasons in. Like I haven't watched it recently, but I've enjoyed him out of that.
Nice. Well, I watched a movie.
Uh oh. That smirk.
Deep Blue Sea 3.
Whoa. Okay.
I loved all the comments because that popped up, and every comment underneath, there's a Deep Blue Sea, Deep Blue Sea 2.
Deep Blue Sea 2 sucks. Now, you guys both know that I'm a big fan of Jaws and Jaws ripoffs. And
Sure.
Deep Blue Sea, the first one, is one of my favorites of that kind of
Let me
stuff.
get it in my head correctly. Is that the one with, who's the lead
LL
actor?
Cool J?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that one. Okay.
No, the lead actor is, I don't remember her name, but LL Cool J is the cook with the parrot, is why you love Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea 2, bad. Deep Blue Sea 3, better.
Okay.
I liked it way better than Host, if I'm being honest.
I feel like Host was not for you.
Yeah, there's a lot more human on human violence than shark on human violence in this, unfortunately.
Weird.
That's a bummer.
But there's plenty of shark on human violence.
Remind me, did you like Meg?
No,
Oh, okay.
I really wanted to.
Yeah.
There were parts of it I liked, but I wanted it to be gorier, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like you need to leave reviews of every film that you don't like and just say not enough shark for all of them. Because
You
it's
want to give me a soundbite, I can just drop that in the end.
Not enough shark. 2 thumbs down. One fin way up. I thought Deep
4
Blue Sea
gills.
3 was fun. Whereas Deep Blue Sea 2 was awful. It was just like, oh, what a bummer. This one, I felt like they kind of got back to the whole idea of humor and all that. And
Nice.
a strong female lead, some mustache twirling evilness in the bad guys and stuff like that. And then lots of sharks. So
Very cool.
beautiful. Is there going to be a 4?
why wouldn't there be?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Didn't seem to take much to get a 3 made. So.
And it wasn't an asylum joint. It was a
Oh
different.
no! This was played pretty straight, actually.
Oh.
But they understood that, what these people want is a Sam Jackson giving a speech and then getting eaten in the middle of it
Yes.
scene.
Yes.
And there's stuff like that going on. So
That was a good
Nice.
moment.
yeah. Anything else, guys?
One more quick one in the Al Adamson field. I mentioned Satan sadists,
Yes.
which was made in the grand tradition of, hey, I've got this cool title, go write a movie about it. It's a good 68, 69 biker movie shot by the guy who shot Easy Rider. Al must have just been a hoot to work with because the people he got to work with him kept working with him again and again and again. But one of the fun parts of this is they used, of course, at the time, they used a real biker gang. And while they were sitting around waiting for something to get shot, 4 or 5 cop cars showed up to basically see what they were up to and why they were all gathered in one place. And the cameraman, being the smart, easy writer, thinking guy he was, pulled out his camera and shot the whole thing.
Whoa.
So the opening scenes, the opening 4 or 5 minutes or more of the movie is a real shakedown. And it's really interesting to watch, especially when you watch what happens like nowadays on the news. Because basically it's a bunch of cops and the bikers just all standing around sort of talking to each other. And one guy does end up in the back of the cop car and all this stuff.
Oh my
like,
God.
Whoa.
Whoa.
So cool.
Wow. That's incredible. And I love that, like, it was during that era as well, because I feel like there's plenty of photographs and you've got Easy Rider and a few other films but
Yeah.
the real feel of that era, it feels like it's lost.
That's part of what I really enjoy sometimes watching no budget movies from the 60s and 70s.
Right.
Because they have that weird feel.
Yeah.
And his films have that. So it's been interesting because I've been watching them chronologically, where you feel that change. Like the Bond one was really colorful and insanely colorful at times. And then you get to the little bit later in the 60s and the movies are getting grittier and darker. And then in the 70s, he was doing blaxploitation and some of that stuff, which I haven't got to yet. And
So in this gigantic box set, there must be like behind the scenes stuff on each film too or something.
not
How'd you
all
know
of the
that
movies,
that was a real shakedown?
not all the movies, but most of the movies.
Okay.
Satan Sadist is one of his most successful films, so there's a good chunk of stuff on that one.
Okay.
And the Dracula, I think it's Versus Frankenstein, which I haven't watched yet. There's another big one that has a lot of stuff. There's a few where there's actually, as a filmmaker, it's kind of interesting too, because there's one I watched and I put the next one in chronological. I'm going, this is the same movie. But then I started to fast forward. It's like, oh, no, this is a new scene.
Oh, how interesting.
This is a new scene.
Whoa.
And so it was, they basically did that thing where they've got one of the films, I forgot which one, has opening credits. And it was kind of a sci-fi one that when Star Wars hit, they did this new opening credits and it looks like the opening credits to Xanadu or something. And then it's got another opening credit with a different name that looks like a late 60s sci-fi movie and another one that looks like a 70s.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, it is a really interesting way to look at film in some ways. So, yeah,
Right.
It's really cool.
Cool. Okay, anything else? Are we ready for a break?
We're ready for a break.
Good.
Breakaway.
We will be right back and we will be talking Ghost in the Machine.
Ooh.
Why buy just a video game from Atari or Intellivision? Invest in the wonder computer of the 1980s for under $300. The Commodore VIC-20. Unlike games, it has a real computer keyboard. With the Commodore VIC-20, the whole family can learn computing at home. Plays great games, too. Under $300, the wonder computer of the 1980s, the Commodore VIC-20.
Coming soon, Commodore brings you Gorth, the Wonder arcade game, and Omega Race in home versions. Commodore.
And we are back. We are talking movies. Ghost in the Machine is the theme, Vanessa. This was your pick.
It is, yeah. So the reason why I picked this is because I've been wanting to see a specific film for a very, very, very long time.
Short Circuit?
Well, speaking of which, in Japanese, the kanji writing for this film is circuit. So you're not completely wrong. It is Cairo, aka Pulse. Yes. So this is a 2001 film as part of the kind of Japanese horror sensation. Some people bookmark it as sort of the end of the most popular versions of it. This film is freaking bonkers. Okay. So have either of you guys seen this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. You're not sure.
I'll listen
You'll
as I go
know.
along, yeah.
Yes, you'll figure it out. So the Rotten Tomatoes for this is 74% critics, 60% audience. Box office, I couldn't find a budget because again, like with foreign films, sometimes it's just really hard to hunt down numbers. But in US, it got 51,000, worldwide 318.5 thousand. So not a lot of money.
When you said worldwide and said that's like not thousand, it's like, whoa, what a huge. Never mind.
No, not a huge amount. Writer director is Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who did 50. He's got about 50 credits. He started working in 1975. Obviously, a lot of these titles I don't know, so I just wrote down the big ones, which is Cure, Tokyo Sonata, and Journey to the Shore. We have a whole nice slew of actors in here who, again, like I just don't know who they are, so I'm just gonna go with character names to describe this. Let me go a little bit into the plot here, though. So you have a group of how do I even this movie? Okay. I don't. Okay. So, this film, a group of friends are worrying about their friend Tagachu, who they haven't seen in a week, and either Michi or Yabi, I can't remember which one, goes to his apartment to find out what's going on because they haven't seen him in a while. There's something due, like a report or something that they're waiting on. And they're like, man, where's this dude? What the heck? He wouldn't like leave us in the lurch. But they all work at a plant store. So I don't really understand why they need like an article or whatever it is that he's giving them. Regardless, friend goes to Tagachu's apartment, discover. Wow, is that a baby?
That's the baby seagull.
Oh,
Not very
my
good
God.
at flying.
Oh,
Quite the
it's
landing there.
huge.
Yeah, they are
Wow.
huge. They look bigger than the parents, but let me tell you, when you've got one stuffed in a paper bag, they are almost weightless.
One was this size in a paper bag?
Yeah, it was a little smaller than that when I had to rescue him from the alley.
Oh my
Jammed
God.
him into a paper bag and ran him up here to the roof and put him on the roof.
Good thing you didn't get out in your apartment.
We tossed him out there. He just kind of
Definitely had
got
a
up
new life.
dazed. What just happened?
Wow. Okay. So anyway,
This movie.
yes, this movie. So make it over to their friend's apartment. See that there's some discs. There's like a computer on. Don't see their friend anywhere around. But all these apartments are really fascinating. There's a plastic sheet that hangs from one room, like as in the doorway between the rooms. And so the friend is kind of looking around trying to figure out like what's what, grabs the disc. He's like, I guess it must be on here. I don't know. And then sees a shadow on the other side. He's like, oh, yo, Taguchi, what's up, bro? You're here. Looks, guy's like, yeah, dude. I'm good. Everything's fine. Everything's great. And like his friend is just being really weird, but is there. And he's like, no, everything's fine. I'm good. And then goes and stands in the corner and like the friend goes and grabs like a disc or something, turns his back and turns back around. And friend has hung himself with telephone cord.
Yes.
Yes. So is hanging there
All right.
dead. Okay. So that's the start of the film. We then go and meet all the friends who are like really concerned. They're looking through this disc, trying to get some clues as to what happened. He didn't seem depressed. Nothing seemed wrong. So what is going on? And on the disc, there's a photo. And this photo is of their friends standing in front of a bunch of monitors. And on one of the monitors is that exact same image of the photo again. So super weird, especially for the year that this came out, 2001, in which internet and computers have been popular for like 4 or 5 years. So, and on another monitor, they can make out the faintest outline of a face. So really creepy, really strange. What the heck is going on? So one of the friends gets a phone call, and it sounds like it's the guy who hung himself, but he's saying help. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go back to the apartment and see what's what. Goes back to the apartment, and where the guy has hung himself, there is like a dark, ashen, moldy spot. And sees that there's nothing new in this apartment. There's nothing, no clues, no answers to what's going on. Begins to leave, then suddenly like kind of gets a feeling, runs back, turns on the light, and his friend is standing there in the corner
Where the stain was.
where the stain is. Starts to talk to him, and then it becomes a stain again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creepy.
So creepy. This guy's going to be hot on his trail, wants to figure out what's going on with his friend. You get a lot of these weird scenes where people are just hanging out in places talking. It feels very 90s. I don't know if that's just because everyone's wearing like very popular 90s clothing or very popular 90s things are going on. The soundtrack, it's just, you are in a specific moment in time in this film, for sure. So he begins to follow Yabby, one of the friends, begins to follow these kind of breadcrumbs that leads him to something called the Forbidden Room. And the Forbidden Room are these rooms. It's not just one place, but it's a space where it's been taped off with this like red tape. So you're not supposed to go in, but something has an answer in this room. So I don't know how he finds out. There is no real through line of understanding what is happening and why it's happening. So just bear with me. There is a room that has red tape around it. There's a door. Yabby takes the tape off, goes into the room, is like, okay, what is in this space? What is this thing that my friend found out in here that freaked him out and he ended up hanging himself? Nothing. Except a really cool little like sofa, which is nice. He's like looking around. He's like, oh, what? There's the big concrete, crazy, very like brutalist architecture structure. Wanders in, and then all of a sudden behind him, there's a woman. Enter ghost. Woman starts to come towards Yabby. Yabby's like, oh God, no. Starts to back up. Woman, this is so Lynchian. I think they filmed it like backwards or filmed it forwards and then played it backwards, and it's sort of blurry, and her movements are very like jagged, but not in like a creepy CGI way where they're like breaking their limbs to walk. It's much more almost like half dancing and half walking in a way that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It feels very strange. And so he runs behind the couch and lays there, and he's like, she'll never find me, I'm sure. I'm like, dude, why are you doing? Okay, you're fine, whatever. He looks up, and of course she's staring at him. And I think it's worse in Japanese culture, but for me, I was like, wow, she is pretty as hell. And then of course he's now been touched by this thing and is essentially infected by this ghost-like presence. He starts to deteriorate. Gets cold, gets shivery, starts telling people, help me, help me. That's a consistent thing that people start to say when they're infected with whatever this thing that's coming from the ghost is doing. And he, as he deteriorates, there's 2 more female friends, and one of them is trying to help him out and figure out what's going on. In the meantime, the other girl also goes into a forbidden room. We see our kind of lead, Michi, runs in, tries to grab her out, tries to help her, save her. Too late again. She is becomes sick. Michi's trying to take care of her in her apartment, really look after her. But at one point, it's just so crazy. Like, you watch her deteriorate, and she's got like this white blanket on. And I believe in Japanese culture, white is a symbol of death and potentially mourning or funerals, but I know that it has a different color meaning. And she gets up, the sick girl gets up and wanders over against the wall and is standing there, and she talks about death and loneliness, and suddenly she's a mold stain. Mm-hmm. And then she is ashes, and then she floats out the window and she is gone. Meanwhile, on the other side of Tokyo City, we have Ryosuke, an economics student who's decided to sign up for the internet. This is his first try. He's got his computer set up. He puts in this disk. It's like a startup kind of AOL style disk. It's called something a little bit different though. It's called you are at symbol NUS. So you're atness. I think it's trying to be funny. Anyway, it's fine. He's got a guide in his hand. Welcome to the internet. It's like flipping through the pages.
Did it have the nice sign-on sounds? You know,
It actually, I was disappointed because it did and it didn't. It got up into the modem noise and then it didn't do the modem sound. So it just did the initial dial-up. I was like, you're missing a key part of our culture, people. That hideous sound.
Probably what the director and the sound person said.
Yeah, like, you know what? Not worth it. Not worth it. And it's an early like version of like Windows 97, but a Japanese version. So like the subtitles on this film were not particularly great. So there was plenty of writing that I have no idea what it says. They did not like translate any of the writing. However, so he's signing up. He's excited, kind of interested in like, he's a very cool guy. He's got bleached hair. He's got like American style t-shirts that say all kinds of wacky crap on them. I think this one's like Bahamas over and over again. He seems like a very cool guy, skateboard in his room, video game controllers, full 90s. However, when he logs in, he keeps getting this error message and he's ticking it, and all of a sudden a question pops up and it says, would you like to meet a ghost? And he's like, no. Tries to close it and it sort of pops back on by itself and a video feed comes through and it's just this one person alone in a room. And I believe I'm not sure if it does multiple videos of different people, which you do encounter along the way, but there is one person in a chair with a bag over their head and behind them it says, help me, help me, help me. And they're slowly scooting towards the screen. Beautiful. Great. There's no crawling out of the screen, but there is obviously something going on inside of here. So he wants answers. He goes to his college and goes to the computer lab. And this is where we get the most cringy techno babble. We don't know anything about the internet yet or computers or anything conversation. And it very much shows its age. When he walks in, there's some people having different conversations and they're computer students, I think, or learning how to do some coding. And somebody says, have you changed the size on the batch? Well, the change is variable. Well, that's just conventional memory. It's just nothing means anything.
Order a pizza.
Right? Come on, net us right now. There's an expert who he asks like, hey, what do you think this, let's say somebody just encountered this weird thing that happened on their computer. Not me, just somebody. And he's like, a ghost? Well, it sounds like you got hacked. And then there's a bunch of kids surrounding a computer right next to him, and they're all looking at it very intently. The monitor is not on. I just need to stress that very heavily. No monitors are on in this entire room.
We'll fix it in post.
We'll put something in. It'll be fine. I think they just didn't know. Anyway, a really beautiful young woman. I didn't know at first if she was a teacher or just a student. I think it turns out to be like a student, but like a top level student of computer studies. Comes up and she wants to know, more about his question. And she said, well, do you know what the address is for this site that popped up? And he goes, address? She's like, well, were you on Windows? He says, yeah. Do you open the Explorer? He's like, and she says, okay, well, next time it comes up, click a bookmark on it. Click on the thing and bookmark it. And he goes, not so fast. Can you repeat that? And like, it's a piece of paper to write down how to bookmark, which by the way, she does not tell him how to bookmark. She says, click and bookmark. It's not, anyway, it's fine. And she said, and if that doesn't work, hit the print screen button.
I remember that button.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know. Anyway, in this movie, print screen means print, like it actually prints something. So it doesn't just copy the full image. Regardless, these are all he needs to know. Off he goes. He runs off to continue his mission. So we've got two completely different stories, one of which we have a group of friends who are slowly losing one person by one person to this strange forbidden room. And on the other side, you have this kind of single kid who's clearly like often hanging out by himself, doesn't have a lot of friends, but he wants to get on the internet. He seems hip, and he's getting closer to something that's obviously quite dangerous. I don't even know what to say happens next. On the friend's side, we ultimately only end up with one person, and that's Michi. She wants to save her friends, but her plant store boss says some very weird cryptic stuff to her about how friendship is meaningless and like you're probably just going to make things worse by trying to connect to somebody in the first place. It's very strange.
That's why I have a plant store.
Right. It's a very odd plant store. It's basically a rooftop. So that's odd. She actually catches somebody who is putting the red tape on one of the doors. It's this young woman. And then the woman goes up to the top of this tower and then flings herself off it. And this is a really impressive camera follow, because it follows from the woman jumping all the way down to her hitting the ground. And it feels very real. They did an amazing job editing it. Apparently it was several takes. They used dummies, all kinds of stuff. It feels seamless. It's creepy. It's terrifying. It's like, what the heck is happening? And the theory, the first initial idea of what the reality is comes from that kind of dickwad computer science dude who tricked him. And he says something about how the space where ghosts are is full and they've spilled over, and where else are they going to go? They come here and something, but they don't want more ghosts, because if you die, they don't want to kill you. They want people to live forever, because if you die, then there's more ghosts and there's not enough room. But the internet okay. So the two stories do meet up. When once our cool dude, him and his girlfriend try to leave the city, people just start disappearing all over the place. The city becomes emptied out. He's like, let's get on a train and get as far away from this madness as possible. And she's like, okay, I guess. Get on the train together, go as far as they can. And then she gets really apprehensive and itchy and like disappears back. She goes back to her apartment. She just bails on him, gets off at a stop, and he's like, hold on, stay here. I'm going to go ask the conductor a question. He turns around, she's gone. He goes to find her and essentially can't. So he runs into the other main character from the other story, Michi, who she's crashed her car. I don't know how that happened, but regardless, she's unconscious in her car. He walks over. He's like, there's no one in Tokyo left. Goes over. They start hanging out, chatting. She's like, oh, do you want a friend to help you find this girl? Like, I'll go with you. I got nothing else going on. Yeah, let's go to this abandoned factory and find this girl. And she's going to be there. And then she shoots herself. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then they're like, oh, let's get out of here.
What? Did you put something in the drinks here or something, man?
Not this time, I swear.
I'm trying so hard. I actually had a much shorter thing written down, but I don't feel like it has anything about this movie in it. So I'm trying very hard, guys. So anyways, I
don't think it's you. I'm thinking it's the movie.
So cool kid, he knows not to go in these red rooms. Like Michi even warns them. She's like, don't go in a red room. They go to get in the car to take off. They're like, you know what? We're done with this. We need to leave. We need to leave the city. We need to get as far away from whatever is happening as humanly possible. So he's like, cool, we're out of gas. I think I saw a gas canister inside the factory. Off to the gas canister in the factory and starts pumping out of this random barrel, apparently perfect petrol for this vehicle. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Cap falls off. Behind him, oh, it's so creepy. A red door slowly opens. The Cap rolls into the door. He looks at it, pauses, goes in. In there, of course, It shuts as soon as he goes in. It's actually a really creepy room. Some of the rooms look very like haphazard and like it's tech and it's crazy and here's cables everywhere. Just giant piles of cables. Don't worry about it. It's the 90s, but it's not. It's 2001. And cables mean cool, smart internet stuff. This room has like plastic bags just like taped against every surface of the wall. And it is very creepy. And then a ghost appears. And I'm not sure if the ghost is one of the original characters or not. It's really hard to tell. I think it's just a ghost. But he's like, I don't think this is real. I think you're full of crap. You can't hurt me. You can't do anything to me. It's very headstrong about this situation. And then he goes, I know what. You're going to disappear if I run up to you. Just like that kid. Runs at the guy, grabs him. He is holding the ghost's shoulders. The ghost is just like, yeah, no, I'm here. And he like lets go and he's like, ugh. Don't know anything else about him. Disappear. Get out of that scene. Michi goes to find him. He's curled up in a ball somewhere else in the factory. She's like, let's go. Get in the car. He goes with her. They drive all the way to basically to the ocean. And she's like, okay, well, look, everybody else who's been infected by whatever this is, has gotten so far and then turned around and wanted to go back. Do you want to go back? And he's pretty cool. He's like, no, I want us to keep going. So they end up on a speedboat and then an ocean liner and then they're leaving, but he's a ghost now. Okay. So that's the film. I don't know. Okay. I am very much in two minds about this film. On one hand, it's almost this like uncanny portrayal of our current state of the internet and loneliness and connectivity and trying to connect more and actually connecting less. I think it's foreshadowing something really deep and powerful and interesting. But the plot of this film, if you are looking at it for the story, has nothing. Like, it's just impossible. It is a giant metaphor. And if you just don't take it, if you let yourself be lost in the feeling of it, it's something powerful. But if you try to really focus on it, it's not good. So with that in mind, at its best, so these are the best elements of it. At its core, I think it is a deep study. It took me a little bit to figure this out. I really had to sit and think about this because it ended and the credits came and I was like, I don't know what happened. My God, I am confused. So at its core, it is a deep study of loneliness. Each character has their own reaction to being alone and being lonely and feeling isolated, whether around friends or not having friends. Or at one point, the computer science hot chick girl is talking about how she's afraid that when you die, you're just as lonely as you are when you're alive. And cool dude is like, well, don't you have parents or like family? And she's like, yeah, but it's meaningless. And there's this moment of stark, it just sends shivers down you, like, oh my God, like, yeah, you are alone. And your parents, you know, even when you're basically born alone, you're going to die alone, right? On the other hand, you've got, you know, people who surround themselves with friends and everything are still lonely and still end up hiding by themselves in their rooms, like the first guy who committed suicide. So it's got some really cool characters. Each of them also make their own set of mistakes. Most of them make mistakes and end up dying because they try to connect to somebody who's already been tainted by this loneliness or ghosts or whatever. The cinematography at its best is cool. It's separating the audience from the scenes. So often you're shooting from outside of cafes, outside of windows, outside of spaces, looking in at characters. And at first I thought this was like super crap and a bit pretentious. And I was like, you guys are just doing something, I guess. But actually it is really good at showing this sort of separation between not only us and the characters, but the characters themselves. There's one really cool shot where computer lab chick is in one room sitting on a chair and cool bro is sitting in the other room on a chair, and they're not looking at each other and they're kind of talking to each other, but not at the same time. And there is just this feeling that like, why don't they just look at each other? Why don't they just speak to each other? And they just can't. The horror at its best is a deep, unsettling, dark horror that's using stylistic traits of Hitchcock, Lynch, and Junji Ito, for sure. The moldy wall people is crazy. The backwards dancing movement's crazy. The fear test that I just mentioned where he runs at the ghost. There's just generally a lot of very creepy moments. The girl who walks into her own mold spot disappears, dies. And then there are just plenty of moments and little bits in here that don't mean anything, but when you watch it, you feel very unsettled. And finally, the set design is pretty neat in that they have monitors everywhere. And you do feel this invasive space of something is coming. Technology and internet, and this is the future. And we've never had, it actually took me a little bit to realize that this was not normal because we live in such a world now that monitors are everywhere. And as an editor, yep, I know we're all sat here looking at like little pieces of monitors on our own person. But for this, they're all huge and imposing and over the top. And sometimes they're on like little rickety chairs, like next to people's beds. And it's just overwhelming. At its worst, this film is pretentious and boring. It has a plot that makes no sense and laughable techno jargon. The characters, some of them are super shallow and melodramatic. They're talking about things we haven't seen or don't seem to exist or don't seem to have happened, like what's going on with the guy who owns the garden shop. The cinematography at its worst shows a lot of unnecessary shots and some badly placed shots. Some just don't, I feel like in film school we were told every shot should mean something. It should tell you some new piece of information about the story, and there were a lot that did not. At its worst, the horror is cheap thrills with crappy modern modem sound effects and camera glitches, which does happen consistently. Not good. And the set design and locations, as cool as some of the set design is, where you've got all these different spaces like a factory and the cool plant store and these cement block buildings, you do spend a lot of time in the same places over and over again. Like it's almost like they ran out of places to shoot, but I don't think they did. I think it was just a place for them to sit around and talk slowly at each other. You also have a lot of wires and just piles of crap everywhere and people constantly falling into piles of stuff and having them fall on their head. It happens all the time. It's like 20 times in this film. People will bump into some boxes and some like empty crap of styrofoam.
Watched Tetsuo the Iron Man before.
Yeah, I'm sure. So overall, I really don't know if this film is incredibly good or incredibly bad, but I do think that there's a lot to scrape away. And I do think it's before its time. I think right now with the age of Twitch and Zoom and the pandemic we're living in, and just an overall movement towards not spending time with real people, but spending time with versions of people on the internet, this deep-seated loneliness does exist, and I think that it was future telling in a correct way. So that was mine.
Take a breath.
Sorry, it was a lot. I didn't think I'd talk that long, guys, but there you go. And it's funny because if you watch this movie, I guarantee anyone who sits down with us, they're gonna be like, "What? No, I don't remember you mentioning any of this stuff," because it's just so strange and dreamy that the things that you catch, I think everyone's going to catch something slightly different.
I remember not loving this movie and thinking it was pretty boring, but it had some very creepy moments that made me go, I don't feel like I wasted my time.
Yeah, that was definitely my feeling at the end too. I felt like, wow, there were some deeply unsettling horror moments in this that I had not seen done this way or as effective as this.
Yeah.
But it's also very long.
Yes.
And a lot of long scenes of sitting around in cafes or on rooftops, just not really talking about anything in particular. And I don't know why I'm there and I want to leave. And that's hard. But once you get into that zone, I feel like you can get through it. And I do feel like you can reach another level with this film, but it's not a perfect film. And I think that it got into a lot of books that I was reading about filmmaking and beautiful, amazing, artistic pieces of work. And I think that it accidentally fell into some of that and on purpose fell into some of it. So it's successful, but it also fails in many ways. If nothing else, you should watch this back to back with The Net and just watch silly early internet stuff where no one knew what any of the stuff they were talking about was, and have a good time.
No one knew, but also the audience didn't really know. So they were
Of
like,
course.
they were like, just make something up. Nobody really understands the internet.
Yep. Nobody understands hard drives. Nobody understands modems or speed or any of this stuff. Don't worry about it. I was shocked. Their internet speed is very good. The streaming video quality was better than what I get. So I was just like, man, if in 2001 in Tokyo, you were getting this kind of live stream feed of other people in their apartments, damn, that's cool.
Who
Would you
wants
like me to go next?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go from high tech craziness to low tech kind of craziness.
Is this going to be like the sewing machine? The foot press sewing machine is haunted.
I'm actually digging this pitch.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, keep going. Let's see here. No. This is a film from 1995. Definitely a lesser known one called Evolver.
Place your bets. Now accepting wagers for Kyle Baxter, virtual reality god. Shoot!
Evolver defeated.
Kyle Baxter, you are the winner of the Evolver Home Contest.
You did.
Wow.
It looks like you won.
Hello, I am Evolver.
Need another player or something.
Okay, this is too intense.
Evolver ready to play.
Each time Evolver is defeated, he evolves up to the next level.
Bullseye.
Evolver hates to lose.
Infiltrate. Attack. Need more power.
Where he gets smarter, quicker, and harder to beat.
Wow. Hey, Evolver, what's sword?
Strategic war-oriented robotic device.
This thing is destroying my house.
Interesting design glitch.
Advancing to next level.
I think there's something wrong with Evolver.
Let's play.
This toy acts like it's playing for keeps.
I don't think you get how dangerous this thing could be. Come on.
Kyle, we cannot beat this thing.
Need more power.
Allie!
Gotta get help.
Come on, man, play with me.
Play with me.
I don't think so. I think it wants to kill you.
I've never heard of this movie.
Nor have I.
It had Rotten Tomatoes, had no critics rating, and 44 from the audience, which is probably a little low, but also really not that far off. It had a budget of approximately $5 million. I'm thinking it was probably a direct-to-video because I could find nothing on box office at all. It's written and directed by Mark Rossman, who is known for the wild hit of House on Sorority Row, and a movie called Mutant, where he was credited as John Bud Cardos.
I've seen Mutant.
Is it mutant worthy?
Isn't that the Alien?
Yeah,
ripoff?
it's an Alien ripoff. As far as that goes, it's fun.
Okay.
He was the he was replaced. Sorry, I misread that. Mark was replaced by John Bud Cardos on the film.
Ruh-roh.
Because they weren't too keen on the shooting. And he's also shot 11 episodes of Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah. Get it.
Stars Ethan Embry from Empire Records, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, Vacancy, The Devil's Candy, which is truly an underrated film.
That's a good one.
He's the dad in that one.
Almost unrecognizable.
Yeah, looks so different. And Cassidy Ray, who went on to be in Melrose Place and Models Inc., and John Delancey.
Oh.
Q.
Okay.
From the Star Trek.
I love it. He's such a good actor.
Yeah, he's good. He's very good in this. And he's supposed to be the villain, but he's sort of an accidental villain. And he is so likable on screen because as Q, he's a raging asshole, but you really like him.
Yeah.
Even though he's
you always get mad that like a Q episodes come on, but then you can't stop watching it.
Yes, exactly.
He's so likable.
He's got that sort of quality comes across in this one too. So the idea of the movie is it starts off and Ethan is playing a very not far off from what you see nowadays, version of a virtual reality game where he's got the headset on and he's standing in a marked off area where you can walk around, but so you won't walk off the edges or stuff. But the quality of the game he's playing is wowza bad. I'm just like, wow, Doom came a couple years before this and looked better. I think you could have upped your ante for the game. But the idea is he is one of the best players of Evolver ever. And he's gonna the company of Evolver set up a contest that if you win this contest, you'll get your home game version of Evolver. Cassidy comes in and interferes with his game and ends up knocking him off from being the winner of the contest. Unbeknownst to her, she didn't know that he was in the middle of trying for some contest. So that actually made absolutely no sense. So, what are you talking about? Is he going for a contest? Why can somebody automatically just jump in and play? But anyways, I wrote down a story the tech world was not ready to tell. This is an 80s movie. It came out in 1995, but I would be shocked if he did not write this shortly after he wrote House on Sorority Row and then just upgraded the technology because it is such an 80s movie. So after he sort of loses the test, he, of course, is a hacker.
Oh.
So he goes home and with his friend, he hacks into the computer place to see, ostensibly just to see how the rankings of the Evolver game are going. And he notices he's number 2. And his friend's like, just change the scores, man. And Bart's like, I can't do that. But somehow, magically, the next day, the team from Evolvers is in his front room, or his front of his house with, hi, we're here. And they present to him a robot.
Oh.
Like, how the hell is this a home version of the game he was playing earlier? But it's a robot much more reminiscent of, R2-D2 and, Victor? His name was from the Black Hole. Not Victor, Vincent.
Vincent.
Yeah, Vincent. And he's kind of more reminiscent of that, where it's short, squatty little robot.
Okay.
The idea is that nobody ever beats Evolver on level 4.
Oh, snap.
And the game is set up and kind of a fun game, although in any place other than outdoors, I don't see how you pull this off as a game, is the robot is sort of like, for anybody that remembers laser tag, they give all the people their little laser guns and they shoot at the robot and 25 damage. And the robot shoots little foam pellets back at them and 25 damage to enemy 1 and all this shit. And of course, the lead guy, Ethan, is enemy 1 who beats him. And then he goes, evolving to level 2. So anyways, you've got the whole plot line pretty much going at that point. And if you think you know where it's going, you are correct.
I think I know where this is going.
And here's one of the moments that goes, oh, this is so painfully 80s. Once the part of the robot, and this is obviously before the paranoid of everything's being tracked, is it has a disc player in it that records everything the robot does. And when the disc pops out, they're supposed to send it back to the company of Evolver because this is an ongoing project that they're developing. And everybody knows, okay, cool.
Right.
No, it records everything.
Totally fine with it.
So, of course, as soon as they figure it out, his cliched buddy goes, you know what we need to do with this? It's like, what? We need to take this to school.
Oh, dear.
And unleash it in the girls' locker room.
No.
It's like, oh, my God.
God.
And, of course, the lady that beat him is in the locker room and immediately recognizes it because she was over at his house when it showed up. Oh, and what is the deal with when you unveil a robot in particularly 80s or 90s movies? He comes out in a field of fog and smoke out of the box. Like, did you keep it on dry ice for shipping or something?
Comes with its own fog machine.
That's right. There's the nerd who's beating up on, or not the guy who's beating up on the nerds who, at some point, somehow, the robot has found ball bearings. Big, giant ball bearings that are the size of the little Nerf things he's shooting.
Weird. That's convenient.
I really wanted at some point for him to say, "Shall we play a game?" He never does. It's very disappointing. One lady kicks him out of the locker room, so he goes over and you get it's a balanced 80s movie. You go over to the guy's locker room and say, "Hey, here's the naked bully in the shower."
Nice.
And upsets the robot, and things do not go well for him. And the idea the robot also learns.
It evolves.
It evolves.
Whoa.
And he learns from TV, like he learns how to swear. Of course, Mom's upset about that. There's a lot more he should be upset about with his robot. The lead guy's younger sister is like a sitcom little kid where she's the brightest one in the room who always has the quirkiest things to say and is making dinner and gets upset when people don't show up to eat her dinner kind of thing. It's like, damn. Seriously, 1985, not 1995.
Nothing I hate more than precocious children.
Spunky.
It's important to finish that word.
Yes, it was. I apologize.
Now, the romance, of course, that comes out from the two leads is both well done and really shitty done. Where it's not a... He doesn't immediately go, "Oh, I must pine for her," and stuff. And she doesn't immediately become, "Oh, this guy's a jerk and I hate him." It's a nice, smooth kind of relationship for a while until at some point the writer decided, well, we need them to not be in the same place at the same time. So he just says this weird little thing. Well, I'm going to go over here. You go over there. And they leave for like 20 minutes. And so then, of course, when they need to be back together, she suddenly shows up again.
That's convenient.
As the movie goes on, you get enemy number 1 continues to beat Evolver, and of course, eventually it goes to level 4.
Oh, snap.
And along the way, the Evolver learns how to use saw blades and hammers to kill people. Weapons he doesn't have on his person. He still must beat enemy 1. So when you think he's done after he gets pushed into the pool to be disposed of, oh, he's not done.
Oh, no.
Enemy 1 is still alive, so he comes back to life somehow. And somewhere along the line in his learning, he figured out that if he takes one of the little laser guns, this is the Evolver, and puts it through a kaleidoscope, that it will generate lasers that he can then kidnap the mother and the daughter behind a little laser cell that if they touch or put anything into automatically catches fire.
Oh.
That's an interesting use of a kaleidoscope. So he's now kidnapped the family and tells enemy 1, if you do not battle me, you do not fight me within a minute and 30 seconds or something, I will kill your family. Like, all right, well, okay. Before that, they came and they picked the guy up and took him away, and they're like, yeah, this got mixed up with the software for Sword, which was a enemy destroying robot that they wanted to have the army, and somehow they don't really explain, at least if they did, I didn't hear, that it was inserted on purpose or if it was an accident, but somehow the game combines with the weapons and then the creature learns how to kill a lot.
Same company that's manufacturing this game is also a military manufacturer.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm on the right page.
The notes afterwards, but I got to tell you, the bad pop music at the end by Beat the Machine, or the song Beat the Machine by Lily Santa Cruz and the Technicians.
Oh my gosh.
So bad. It is such a bad pop song. And the movie is full of wonderfully massive logic and physics jumps. Like Okay, so he takes the robot out downstairs. Then he runs upstairs to rescue his sister and the mom. And as they're rushing out the bedroom door, Evolver comes out from behind the door. I'm like, how'd you get... What? Oh, well, go with it. Here's a pointless thing that I had, but I spent nearly the whole movie looking at the lead actress going, she looks so familiar. I looked her up and I'd never watched Models Inc. or Melrose Place. I didn't know what I knew her from. It was not that. She has a strange, not real strong, but a strange, subtle resemblance to Claire Kramer, who played Glory on Buffy.
Yeah.
Oh.
That kind of wide set eye.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, oh, that's it. I don't remember how I got to figuring that out. But part of why this movie is fun to watch, because it is actually fun to watch, is that these are likable actors. You know, if you've seen Empire Records, you know Ethan can be a likable guy.
Sure.
And he comes across very well on screen, and he's a good actor. And the lady's a good actor, too. They pull stuff out. And they're a little not horribly cliched in a very cliched movie. The characters aren't as cliche, except for the friend. Sleazy side character who's thankfully not really in it very much. The lead actors are good. The guy who played Q is, of course, wonderful to watch on screen. Robot is not great. It's very... I mean, it does have the advantage of, like we were talking about last week with Short Circuit, where he's real. So he's actually in the scenes, present entity of the scenes going on. Which, you know, nowadays he'd just be some computer-generated thing that they could morph into some giant RoboCop-looking...
He'd be like a mop.
Where in this, he just sort of moves a little bit, or little lights change on his chest, and now he's at level 2. I'm like, all right. And in the grand tradition of Spielberg movies, these are divorced parents, and the mom is gone unless she needs to be there for a plot point or something.
Right.
And so this was an enjoyable movie. It is not a good movie, but it is a fun film. I could absolutely see Shout Factory picking this up and putting it out. It's not horror enough to be Scream Factory, and it's not bad enough to be Vinegar Syndrome. And it's Severin's much more like 70s and dark cult stuff, so I don't think they would do it. But I think it fit in comfortably in Shout Factory, and I would probably buy that because it's just a goofy, fun enough movie that I'd be curious to learn more. And since it was not really much of a success, there's very little about it online, and there's not a lot of stuff to learn, but I enjoyed it. It was fun.
This must have been streaming somewhere then.
Yeah, it was a rental. It was like a $3 rental or something from Amazon or Apple or one of those.
Wow. Okay. All right. I guess it is my turn then.
Yeah. What was your pick? I'm excited to hear what you chose.
I chose a little documentary from 1986 called Maximum Overdrive.
Hi. My name is Stephen King. I've written several motion pictures, but I want to tell you about a movie called Maximum Overdrive, which is the first one I've directed.
What in the dickens is going on around here?
A lot of people have directed Stephen King novels and stories, and I finally decided if you want something done right, you ought to do it yourself.
Who was driving it?
I don't know.
It's coming after us!
It was my first picture as a director, and you know something? I sort of enjoyed it. I just wanted someone to do Stephen King right.
You want a war? You got one. I just want to get the hell out of here.
So come and spend some time with me and my friends at the Dixie Boy. Spend some time in the dark.
Please don't let us be in the dark.
Help me.
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you. And that's a promise.
You're going to get us in an awful lot of trouble, man. We already in trouble.
Maximum terror.
Jesus coming and he is
Maximum King.
Maybe tomorrow will be our world again.
Dino De Laurentiis presents Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive.
Oh my God, that's such a good choice. Oh, it's so good. Okay.
Budget of $10 million.
Holy shit.
Box office of $7 million.
Oh dear.
Oh, go ahead. You go and talk about it before I make a
at
joke.
At least $5 million of that went on cocaine, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
The Rotten Tomato critics rating is 15%. The audience has it at 50%.
Yep, I can see that.
Written and directed by a guy named Stephen King. No other projects. Never directed another film after this.
Sure.
Really? Shocker.
I mean, it is a pretty intense film. I can see him not getting a lot of work.
I'll go into my trivia right now with Stephen King. When asked why he hadn't directed a film since Maximum Overdrive, his response was, "Have you seen Maximum Overdrive?"
Oh, it's so beautiful.
He's got a good sense of humor about it now. Stars a very young Emilio Estevez, who you would know from the hit Men at Work.
There you go. Him and Charlie Sheen, his brother, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And Laura Harrington, who played the sister in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and had a very small role in Buckaroo Banzai, Across the Eighth Dimension.
Like a really, really small role? Or?
Well, she had a name.
Oh, okay.
I didn't recognize her in it, if that's what you're asking.
Okay.
Oh, boy. This movie. Emilio Estevez plays a guy who's on parole, and he's working at a truck stop diner when the world goes crazy. Machines are coming to life and killing humans. Trucks, lawnmowers, soda dispensers, electric carving knives. The world has gone insane, all to the dulcet tunes of AC/DC.
Yeah.
Best part of the movie, maybe.
At the beginning of the film, we are given a fairly detailed description of a strange comet overhead and are led to believe that that's what is causing all of this. This green comet is suddenly bringing all of the cash machines to life and telling the people who are withdrawing money that they're assholes. Survivors of this bizarre apocalypse have made it to this truck stop, and they include a hot young hitchhiker who will end up fucking Emilio in the truck stop.
Where else are they going to do it?
A just married couple, the wife being an incredibly annoying Yeardley Smith, who is the voice of Lisa Simpson. She is so fucking annoying, spends most of her time screaming or giggling. They are also driving a car that does not appear to know what's going on in the movie because it works fine for them. Never explained.
Oh, I never even thought about that.
Never explained why everything is coming to life and killing people except for their car, which gets them safely to the truck stop. It also includes a young boy who is a typical Stephen King kid. He's super smart and more capable than the adults. He's also really annoying. If this kid existed in the real world, you would boot him out of the truck stop.
Oh.
And it includes Giancarlo Esposito in one of his very first roles. He, of course, very famous actor now and just recently seen on The Mandalorian holding the black sword of the Mandalorians for some reason. Can't wait for season 2. He is a man who gets electrocuted by the video games in the station's arcade room.
Because everybody had an arcade room in the 80s.
Well, yes. Yeah, you know. This movie is basically a zombie movie with machines. It's a siege film. Everybody is holed up in this truck stop. For some reason, the kid, who has been on the run since a soda can spewing machine
like
killed
Little
his,
League practice, right?
Killed his coach and a couple of his Little League compatriots. He sees this truck stop where all of the trucks are circling around it and honking and all this stuff. And for some reason, he feels like, I got to get in there. That seems like safest place right now. Makes zero sense, but he gets in. And then all of these people are like, okay, what do we do now? What's going on? And why do we have an electric carving knife at the truck station?
That's true. The turkey cutter. I forgot about that.
Why an electric carving knife at a truck station diner?
I mean, you gotta cut stuff quick.
That's what regular knives are for.
If you really know how to use your knife, you're good without.
Yeah. This movie is so stupid.
Yes.
Finally, the trucks let them know via Morse code honking that what they need them to do is start pumping the gas for them. And basically, attention humans, we now rule the world. You are our slaves. Please fill us with gasoline. And they basically do this. They go in shifts and take 8 hours or something to fill trucks, and you start seeing the line of trucks is miles long down the road, and they're in the beating sun, and top of it all, AC/DC's Hell's Bells is playing, and you're just like, I love this song, but 8 hours of it. They finally make a desperate plan to escape, and they get through where the kid came in, and then they make their way to a boat, which is also not being affected for some reason because story. And we find out via a title card that there was a UFO discovered hidden in the tail of the comet. Luckily, there was a Russian weather satellite that had been equipped with nuclear weapons, and it was able to blow the UFO out of the sky, and everything went back to normal.
Beautiful.
The end.
Standing ovation.
I think I know the answer to this question. This was originally wrote for the movie, right? It wasn't based on one of his stories?
It is based on one of his stories, and I was going to ask you if either of you had read Trucks by Stephen King.
What is that? Is that in Night Shift?
It is in Night Shift.
Yeah, then I did read it at some point.
The original story is very small. It's a 8-page story, and it starts with the apocalypse has happened. Basically, it starts with the guy who's telling the story. He's pumping the gas, and he's looking out over this long line of trucks. And we get then him telling what has led to this moment. And it's effective. It is a creepy little story of we don't know why the trucks have suddenly come to life, but we are now being forced into slavery. And basically, it ends with him looking up in the sky, and he sees that there's a jet airplane traveling high overhead, and he wonders if there's anybody on that plane, and all this, and it kind of leaves this idea of, where's this going? Boy, this movie is bad. Now, I love this movie, Eric. I've had the poster hanging in my living room, although it just got taken down recently and replaced with the Rick Springfield hit Hard to Hold.
Oh, nice. Excellent, yes.
Good to have things on rotation.
Right. Like I said, when asked about it, Stephen King basically said, I understand that this is a shitty movie. And he's said in interviews that he doesn't remember directing a lot of it because he was so coked up. This was definitely during the coked up Stephen King era. There is a rumor that is going around. Now, King and George Romero had partnered with Creepshow already and had a pretty sizable hit with that. And King and Romero were good friends. Romero had optioned a bunch of King's movies, and they just never were able to make it happen until like The Dark Half again. Yeah. But he was on set for a couple of things. And if you guys remember, there is one scene that's kind of out of place in how good it is. And it is when the kid is on his bike and he's riding his bike through the destroyed neighborhood, and like the sprinklers are coming on behind him to the beat of the songs. And then he'd stop and turn around and all the sprinklers die. And there's dead people in the streets. There's a poor dog that's got a toy car that's jammed in its mouth. It's dead. And it's a really effective scene in the middle of this stupid movie. And the rumor is that George Romero directed that. But I just did a little more digging, and there's an even more interesting rumor because Dino De Laurentiis was the producer of this film. Yeah. This film was shot in, I think, in Maine. And at the same time, David Lynch was finishing Blue Velvet for Dino De Laurentiis.
Oh, shit.
And there is a rumor that Lynch directed that scene, which is really interesting to me. There's a script out there called Maximum King. It was one of the Blacklist scripts. Are you guys familiar with the Blacklist?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
It did really well, and then the writer took it off because he didn't expect it to get this much notice. And it is basically a fictional accounting of King making Maximum Overdrive.
Oh my God, that'd be so good.
It's a really interesting script because he has King talking to his characters who show up, like Randall Flagg shows up in the beginning, basically, to talk to King about, what he's doing. And there's a lot of coke use and there's a lot of other stuff, but there is a mention in this script of David Lynch and Dino De Laurentiis being in there too. And the guy who wrote that script is an industry guy, so I wonder if he's, throwing in stuff he learned, and then when the script kind of took off, he was like, oh, wait, I probably should not have written all of this stuff. So he took it down. But I thought that was really, really interesting. I want to give you guys a pitch to make this film better. You could remake this movie, and it would be great.
It's a hell of a concept. So
It's
I'm
a
curious.
neat idea. Like I said, the original story is really grim and scary, and it starts in the middle of it with the guy pumping the gas. This one, takes that scene, they score it to AC/DC music, and it loses all of its power. Now, by the way, I love AC/DC. I should throw in a little aside. In 1986, when this movie came out, my brother was a bit of a rock star. And he had comp tickets to AC/DC. He took me backstage. I have the AC/DC World Tour for the Who Made Who Tour, all signed by everybody in the band, including the drummer, who would then go on to be put in jail for trying to have somebody killed. And,
oh my God.
So I love it. I think that the music is maybe part of the problem. It doesn't really help. I also think that this is exactly the kind of movie that King wanted to make. If you look at Creepshow, he's got a sense of humor, and even though his books are downright scary, I think that what he wants in a horror movie is gore, laughs, stuff like that. Thrills, chills, spills. So my pitch would be you start the story with the young married couple, and they're on the road driving in their cars, says just married and all that stuff, and they start getting hassled by a truck driver. And then they start getting hassled by more truck drivers, and pretty soon they're being boxed in by these big semis and all this stuff. And they think, we're looking at a duel situation now. They're terrified. They don't know what's going on. All that stuff. They finally are able to break free, get to the truck stop. The trucks roar on, and all that stuff. That's when by the time you get into the beginning of the second act, that's when you show that the trucks were driverless, and we then have them trying to explain stuff to the people in the diner. The trucks start coming in. Somebody else is talking about it. We start realizing, oh, shit, this is like the story. The trucks have gone insane. The mid-act 2 reversal, well, that would be when they realize that, oh, shit, all the trucks are gone. Right. From there, they can try to plan their escape and their attack on the vehicles. Now we see that the cars are starting to come to life, too. And it's like, oh, this is not just this thing, but it's not everything. It's like the King story. It's the vehicles are doing this. They make their escape. They think they're home free, but then we see the audience that the little hints of all the machines are starting to come alive around them. And we realize, oh, you guys think you got away. But now basically the world of Maximum Overdrive is starting to happen. And it's got to be something that makes a little more sense. Like there's no reason that the lawn sprinklers would come on. These are not irrigation sprinklers. These are those old style sprinklers that are hooked to a hose and then they fan back and forth. There's literally no mechanical parts in there that would be able to come to life on its own. It's not like it's being, electrically driven or anything like that. So a lot of this stuff is so stupid in this movie because I think they just thought, well, this will look fun and let's hope nobody thinks about it. But here we are 40 fucking years later thinking about it.
Talking about it right now.
That's how I would pitch this film. I think it could be a really cool, fun, scary movie if somebody wanted to do something like that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to call it Maximum Overdrive because there is a little bit of a stigma to this film. or what I like to call a stinkma.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember rewatching this a few years ago going, wow, this is so much worse than I remember.
Oh, it's awful. Awful in a fun way, but it's so stupid and it's so uncomfortable too. I mean, it is the sweatiest movie in the world. Everyone's just covered in grime and sweat. Yeah. There's really casual racism going on, sexism and all that stuff. And quite honestly, King has been guilty of that in some of his books too. Yeah. So I'm sure that stuff was all written in and performed as, I mean, like Giancarlo Esposito is, when the machines start going crazy, he starts filling his pockets with all of the money and the smokes and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, that sounds like something King would write.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've only seen this movie once, and I saw it for the first time a couple years ago, and I loved it. It was so fun and absolutely bonkers. And I think everything where I think I really liked all this stuff with the kid because of the novelty of the different things he was encountering, like the Coke machine just murdering people.
Right.
Like, what? There was just a lot of fun in there that I really enjoyed reveling around in, because it is hard to take a plot like Cars Come Alive and keep it scary.
Right.
So I think I do agree with you. I think that there's a solid, dark, cool version of this film that could exist. But I had no problem with what I got. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of drugs happening. And I mean, the Green Goblin truck, like, everything is insane.
I hate that Green Goblin truck. I hate it.
It's just because it became so much the only thing people are like, okay, yeah, but that's weird and strange.
It was weird.
You know what? If I had ever seen any kind of truck with any kind of hood like that, I would have been able to buy this. But since it was so out of the ordinary, it was kind of like, well, who would, no truck driver would agree to drive a truck like that. They'd be like, oh, fuck no. I am not driving this toy truck with the Green Goblin.
So I hear hope. I remember when we did the So Bad It's Good episode, you had a real hard time with that. This is a So Bad It's Good.
She doesn't realize it's so bad it's good because she liked it.
I just that's true. I do have a hard time knowing.
It's a terrible movie, but it is so entertaining.
Good. It's
That's
so fun.
bad it's good.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Kinda
No, it
get
is
you
helpful.
to watch like Robo Wars or
yeah.
And
I'll tell you this too. I feel like just about everybody in this movie is kind of along with the joke. You know, they're kind of in on it, except for Emilio Estevez, who is acting his heart out.
He's
maybe
really
better
playing it
than
straight.
any movie he's ever been in, and it gets wasted on this character that's supposed to be, I think, a little more likable. He comes off as just a little too brooding, and it's like, oh boy, and he just looks so sweaty all the time.
I did remember a lot of sweaty griminess, but they're at a truck stop, so I kind of was like, everybody looks gross in a truck stop.
You're absolutely right, but with the tone of the movie, you want it to be okay. Everything is out of sync
it's not
in this
the
film,
mist.
and that's why it's bad, I think.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think that's what I liked about it, is everything being off in every direction, to the point where I had no hope that this was going to be a normal film in any way.
Yeah.
And I was like, the crazier it got, the more I was like, yes, sprinklers, go. Shine your love upon us. I'll take it. Morse code from trucks. Yeah.
That part's actually in the story. And actually, the beats of the story are all in the movie. But that's because there's only 8 pages in the story, and he's able to just, kind of throw them in various spots. So that kind of stuff, is in there. It's quite honestly, it's a halfway decent adaptation of the book, for the 8 minutes that is the book part.
I mean, out of King properties that have been made into actual content, it's not at the bottom.
No,
it is at least entertaining. There's
yes, at least it's watchable.
It's not the Mangler. It's
right.
for what was it, Bag of Bones, for one of his best novels. That was so awful.
That was a tough one. The stewardess who is very, very offended that the machine, or not the stewardess, the waitress who is very offended that the machines have come into life, and she's outside screaming, "We made you! You can't do this! We made you!" And then she is answered with the
bigger.
Yes. There is so much overacting going on. Pat Hingle as the boss, who is asking Emilio to, the first time we meet him is in the office with Emilio, and he's saying, Emilio's looking at him crossways, and he's like, "Let me get this straight. You want me to work for 9 hours, but only clock in for 8? And the guy's like, "Yeah, that's right, boy. I own you, parole, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, okay, it's 1986. You're working at a diner, so that $4.80 you might have gotten for that extra hour is not that big a deal. And I get that, this guy's just being evil, but why is that the thing? Why is it
Out of all the
8
things.
hours to 9 hours? Couldn't he have made him a little more evil for how evil he's acting about it?
Yeah, like you lost 2 days worth of work or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's sitting there going, I'm getting my $4.80 out of you, boy.
Less than the cost of a cake, more than the cost of a candy bar.
It's and the inconsistencies, the cars that work when they need to work, the boat that they escape to. I was like, what? Nobody thought that a boat was also a machine? Because they just take off into the sound, and it's like the credits start rolling. Yay us!
Maybe it's a cliffhanger, and we just don't know.
He's gonna do a sequel.
Yeah.
Man, Maximum Overdrive 2. Maximumer Overdrive.
Nice.
All right, that's my movie.
I love it.
And that means it's my turn to choose for next week's subgenre.
I think so, huh?
Ooh.
Hey, are you guys ready for this?
Yeah, I'm stoked.
I don't think so.
We made a joke about it several episodes ago, but I think I want to actually try it out, and that would be auteurs, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Pick a director and one of his films that you feel like really kind of nails what he's all about.
Very
so,
cool.
Vanessa, for you, that'll be The Fog.
Sure.
Eric, you'll do In the Mouth of Madness. And I will pick Spielberg's Jaws, and I've made our picks. We'll talk about it next week.
Sounds perfect.
Does that sound groovy?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. So thanks again to you guys for coming all the way up here. I really appreciate that. Thanks to all of the listeners. All the likes, all the shares, Danny, Bob, Ron, Brian, everybody who shares all the time is just like, wow, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. I've had a lot of people who piped into me saying, "Oh, I listened to this episode or that one the other day." And it's always great to hear that. And please keep listening. We love it. We love sharing our know-how with you and our painful experiences and our good experiences.
Right. Also, before I forget, Eric, you put an Amazon link on the webpage, which if you guys go through that portal and you buy your stuff on Amazon, then we actually get a couple of pennies on whatever you bought. It costs you nothing extra. Right. Puts a little wind in the sails of this this ship we got going.
Yeah,
here.
You can find the link on the first page, the home page, the listen page, and starting 2 episodes or so back on blogs. Each blog post will have as well.
That's awesome.
Nice. Tell me more about these blog posts. What's going on there?
The thing that
Dear Diary.
Every post I do on Facebook leads to.
Oh. All right.
Today I did an episode of Strange Aeons, and they didn't like my pick.
It's okay, because Kelly is so handsome.
You beat me to it, man.
All right, guys. Thanks again. We love you all, and we will see you all next week.
There you go.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Margaret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Eons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts